Marriage has a way of making you comfortable, perhaps too comfortable. I'm Ryan, 36, a software engineer, and I thought I had it all figured out. 9 years married to Nicole, 33, with 2 incredible kids, Ethan, 7, and Lily, 5. Nicole worked as a pharmaceutical sales rep. I had my steady tech job, and we lived in suburban bliss in Ohio. Or so I thought. Looking back, I was probably the most trusting husband on the planet. I never checked her phone, never questioned her late meetings, never felt that gnawing suspicion that apparently every other married guy talks about. Nicole was beautiful, ambitious, and I genuinely believed we were solid. When she started evolving professionally about 10 months ago, I was actually proud of her. The signs were all there, glaring at me like neon billboards, but I was apparently blind. More overnight business trips to Chicago and Detroit, later nights at client dinners. A sudden interest in CrossFit that had her leaving the house at 5 a.m. in designer athletic wear I'd never seen before. New perfumes, expensive ones that smelled nothing like the vanilla body spray she'd worn since college. She even started doing her makeup differently. These smoky eyes that made her look like she was heading to a nightclub instead of a pharmaceutical conference. "You look amazing, babe," I'd tell her, meaning every word. "This new role is really bringing out your confidence." She'd smile and kiss my cheek. "Just trying to keep up with the competition, you know." I thought I was being supportive. God, I was such an idiot. The thing is, Nicole wasn't cruel about it. She still made breakfast for the kids, still helped with homework, still curled up next to me on the couch for our Sunday night Netflix routine. But there was this distance, like she was physically present but mentally somewhere else entirely. When I'd try to initiate intimacy, she'd claim exhaustion from work. When I'd suggest date nights, she'd mention early morning meetings. "Rain check" became her favorite phrase. Her family adored me. Nicole's parents, David and Margaret Hartwell, were old-school Catholics who treated me like the son they never had. Every month we'd have Sunday dinner at their house, this huge spread with Nicole's brothers Jake and Connor, their wives, all the grandkids running around. Margaret would always pull me aside and tell me how lucky Nicole was to have found such a stable, loving man. David would clap me on the shoulder and joke about how I was keeping his wild daughter in line. Wild daughter. If only he knew. The discovery happened on a Saturday morning in March. Nicole was at her weekly team-building session, another new addition to her schedule, and the kids were at soccer practice. I decided to surprise her by detailing her Honda Accord. Nicole was meticulous about most things, but her car was always a disaster zone of coffee cups, protein bar wrappers, and work documents scattered everywhere. I was vacuuming under the driver's seat when I felt something solid wrapped in fabric. At first, I thought it was a water bottle or maybe one of Lily's forgotten toys. But when I pulled it out, I found an old iPhone 8 wrapped in a black sock, deliberately hidden. My heart started pounding before I even knew why. Nicole had the latest iPhone 14 Pro. This ancient thing didn't make sense. I almost put it back, told myself it was probably just a backup phone or something she was planning to sell. But something made me power it on. The lock screen lit up with dozens of notifications. Messages from someone named Brad. My hands were literally shaking as I realized Nicole had never set a passcode on this phone. The first message I read made my stomach drop. "Can't wait to taste you again tonight." "Hotel room 237, usual place." Nicole's response. You make me so wet just thinking about it. Ryan thinks I'm at a work dinner." I sat there in my own driveway, reading my wife's secret life unfold in real time. 10 months of messages, hundreds of them. Photos that made me want to vomit. Videos I couldn't even process. But the worst part wasn't the explicit content, it was how they talked about me. "Does your husband suspect anything?" Brad would ask. "Ryan? God, no. He's so pathetic and trusting. I could probably bring you home for dinner, and he'd just think you were a new client. Poor guy has no idea his boring wife is getting the best sex of her life behind his back." They had jokes about my programming job, about how I lived in spreadsheets, about my Star Wars collection. Nicole told him about my anxiety medication, about how I sometimes snored, about the way I cried during sad movies. Every intimate detail of our marriage, twisted into ammunition for their affair. But what destroyed me was this message from 2 weeks ago. "When are you finally going to leave him? I'm tired of sharing you." Nicole's response, "Soon, baby. I just need to figure out the custody situation. Maybe another few months and I can dump his boring ass for good. Then it'll just be you and me." I spent 3 hours sitting in that car, screenshotting everything, my world completely shattered around me. My wife of 9 years, the mother of my children, had been living a double life. And she wasn't just cheating. She was planning to destroy our family and humiliate me in the process. That's when the anger started building. Not just sadness or betrayal, but pure, white-hot rage. Nicole wanted to make me look like a fool. She wanted to trash our marriage behind my back while playing the perfect wife to my face. Two could play that game, and I had her burner phone to prove it. The next few days were torture. I had to pretend everything was normal while sitting on the most devastating information of my life. Nicole would come home from her client meetings and kiss me hello, asking about my day like nothing had changed. I'd watch her help Ethan with his math homework or braid Lily's hair and wonder how she could compartmentalize so perfectly. Meanwhile, I was dying inside. Every time she touched me, I thought about Brad's hands on her body. Every time she laughed at something on TV, I remembered her laughing about my pathetic trust in their messages. Sleep became impossible. Food tasted like cardboard. I lost 8 pounds in 5 days. But I wasn't just wallowing. I was planning. The burner phone became my obsession. I'd sneak it into my home office during lunch breaks, reading through months of their conversations, building a complete timeline of the affair. Brad Morrison, 44, married with 3 kids, worked as a regional sales manager for the same pharmaceutical company. They'd met at a conference in Cleveland last April. The first messages were innocent, work stuff, industry gossip. But by June, they were meeting for lunch that lasted 4 hours. The more I read, the angrier I became, not just about the cheating, but about how calculated it all was. Nicole had researched divorce lawyers. She'd looked up apartment listings in Brad's city. She'd even started moving money into a separate account, my money since her salary was barely half of mine. This wasn't a moment of weakness or an emotional affair that got out of hand. This was a systematic dismantling of our marriage. The breaking point came on Thursday night. Nicole was supposedly at a quarterly sales review, but her location showed she was at the Marriott downtown. The burner phone was buzzing with messages from Brad about room service and champagne. Meanwhile, she texted me from her regular phone, "Meeting running late, don't wait up, love you." That's when I knew exactly what I was going to do. Sunday dinner at the Hartwell house was a sacred tradition. Nicole's entire family would be there. Her parents, David and Margaret, her brothers Jake and Connor with their wives Sarah and Amanda, plus all 6 grandchildren. We'd eat Margaret's famous pot roast, play cards, and catch up on family gossip. It was Norman Rockwell-level wholesomeness. Perfect audience for what I had planned. I spent Saturday night preparing, screenshots of the most damning messages, organized chronologically, photos that were explicit, but not pornographic. I wasn't trying to traumatize anyone, just prove the affair. Messages where Nicole specifically mocked her family's values, calling them old-fashioned prudes and joking about how scandalized they'd be if they knew what she was really doing on her business trips. Sunday arrived grey and drizzly, matching my mood perfectly. Nicole was in an unusually good mood, humming while she got ready, excited about some big announcement she wanted to make at dinner. I wondered if she was finally planning to ask for the divorce. The irony was almost funny. We arrived at David and Margaret's house at 2 p.m. sharp. The usual chaos. Kids running everywhere, football on TV, the smell of roast beef filling the air. Nicole hugged everyone, complimented Margaret's new haircut, helped set the table like the perfect daughter-in-law she'd always been. "Ryan, come help me with the wine," David called from the kitchen. I followed him, watching as he uncorked a bottle of Cabernet. "You know, I was just telling Margaret how blessed we are to have you in the family. Nicole really lucked out finding a man with such integrity." The word integrity hit me like a physical blow. Here was this genuinely good man, talking about values and family while his daughter was systematically destroying both behind everyone's backs. "Actually, David," I said, pulling out Nicole's burner phone, There's something you need to know about your daughter. During dinner, I waited for the perfect moment. Everyone was there, gathered around the dining room table, sharing stories and laughing. Nicole was in her element, charming and beautiful, playing the role she'd perfected over 9 years. She'd just finished telling some elaborate story about a difficult client when she mentioned her phone was dead. "Ryan, can I borrow your phone to check something?" "Sure," I said, handing her the burner phone instead of mine. "Use this one." She took it without really looking, then froze when she saw the screen. The blood drained from her face as she realized what she was holding. That's when I stood up. "Actually, everyone, I need to share something important." My voice was surprisingly steady. "Nicole has something she's been hiding from all of us for the past 10 months. The room went quiet. Nicole was staring at me with pure terror in her eyes, still holding the evidence of her own betrayal. I pulled out my own phone and opened the family WhatsApp group. "I think you all deserve to know who Nicole really is." And then I hit send. The screenshots flooded their phones simultaneously. 27 messages containing Nicole's most damning conversations with Brad, carefully curated for maximum impact. I watched as each family member's phone buzzed, then went silent as they opened the messages. David was the first to react. His face went from confusion to horror to pure rage in about 15 seconds. What is this?" Margaret's hands were shaking as she scrolled through the messages. "Nicole Marie Hartwell, what have you done?" The room exploded into chaos. Jake was swearing under his breath, showing screenshots to his wife Sarah. Connor kept saying, "Holy shit," until Amanda covered their youngest daughter's ears. The kids sensed the tension and started crying, which only added to the madness. But Nicole was my masterpiece. She sat there frozen, still holding her own burner phone like a smoking gun. When she finally looked up at me, her eyes were filled with something I'd never seen before, complete and utter defeat. "Ryan," she whispered, "I can explain." "Explain what?" David's voice cut through the room like a blade. He was reading directly from the messages. "Explain calling your husband pathetic. Explain this message where you say we're old-fashioned prudes who would die if they knew what I really do on business trips." Margaret started crying. Not quiet tears, but deep, body-shaking sobs. "How could you do this to Ryan, to your children? We raised you better than this." Nicole tried to stand to go to her mother, but Margaret literally turned away from her. Don't you dare touch me right now. Mom, please, you don't understand. I understand perfectly." David's voice was ice cold. "You've been lying to all of us. Living a double life while we welcomed you into our home every week, while we loved and supported you, while Ryan worked his ass off to provide for you and those children." The kids were full-on wailing now, sensing the adult emergency, but not understanding it. Sarah and Amanda quickly ushered all 6 children into the living room, leaving the adults to deal with the nuclear fallout. Nicole finally found her voice. "You had no right. This was private. How dare you invade my privacy and humiliate me like this?" That's when I laughed. Actually laughed, which probably made me look completely unhinged. "Your privacy? Nicole, you were planning to divorce me and take half of everything I've worked for. You've been using our joint account to pay for hotel rooms with your boyfriend. You've been lying to our children about where you go every night. But I'm the one violating your privacy. Ryan, I never meant for it to go this far. 10 months, I shouted, finally losing my composure. 10 months of systematic lies. You researched lawyers, you looked at apartments, you moved our money into a secret account. This wasn't some accident, Nicole. This was a calculated plan to destroy our family." Jake, who'd been quietly seething while reading the messages, suddenly stood up. "Who the fuck is Brad Morrison?" Nicole's face went even paler, if that was possible. She hadn't realized I'd included the screenshots that identified him. "He's married," I said calmly. 3 kids, works at Nicole's company. I've got his wife's Facebook profile pulled up on my laptop if anyone wants to send her these messages too. "You wouldn't dare," Nicole gasped. "Watch me." And I did. Right there at the dinner table, with Nicole's entire family watching, I sent Jennifer Morrison every single screenshot. Photos, messages, hotel receipts, everything. I even included a note. "Your husband has been having an affair with my wife for 10 months. I thought you deserved to know." Nicole started hyperventilating. Ryan, stop, please, you're destroying everything. I'm destroying everything. The rage was finally pouring out of me, 10 months of suppressed anger and humiliation erupting all at once. You destroyed everything the moment you decided our marriage wasn't worth fighting for. You destroyed everything when you chose to mock me behind my back instead of talking to me about whatever problems we had. You destroyed everything when you decided Brad Morrison was worth more than 9 years of marriage and 2 beautiful children. Margaret was crying harder now, clutching David's arm. How are we going to explain this to the grandchildren? How are we going to look at ourselves in the mirror knowing we raised someone capable of this? Connor, who'd always been the quiet brother, finally spoke up. Nicole, you need to leave. What? You heard me. Get out of our parents' house, get out of our family. I don't want my kids anywhere near someone who could lie and manipulate like this. Jake nodded in agreement. Until you figure out how to become a decent human being again, you're not welcome here. Nicole looked around the room desperately, seeking any ally, any sign of forgiveness. But every face showed the same expression: disgust, disappointment, and betrayal. Her own family had turned against her in the span of 15 minutes. Mom? She tried one last time. Margaret couldn't even look at her. I don't know who you are anymore. That's when Nicole ran. She grabbed her purse and bolted for the door, leaving her burner phone on the table like evidence at a crime scene. We heard her car screech out of the driveway, and then silence. David picked up the burner phone and stared at it like it was a dead animal. Ryan, I'm so sorry. We had no idea she was capable of something like this. Neither did I said, suddenly feeling exhausted. The adrenaline was wearing off, replaced by a hollow emptiness. What do you need from us? Margaret asked through her tears. Whatever you need, money for lawyers, help with the kids, a place to stay, anything. I looked around at these people who'd been my second family for 9 years, who'd just witnessed their daughter's complete moral collapse because of my calculated revenge. I'd used their love for me as a weapon against their own child, and honestly, I wasn't sure if I felt guilty about it or not. The next week was absolute chaos. Jennifer Morrison, Brad's wife, didn't just confront him. She posted everything on Facebook. Screenshots of Brad and Nicole's messages, photos of hotel receipts, a scorching post about home-wrecking whores and lying bastards that got shared over 200 times before she deleted it. The pharmaceutical company they both worked for launched an immediate investigation. Nicole tried calling me 47 times that first day. I know, because I counted. I didn't answer any of them. She left voicemails crying, screaming, begging, threatening to call the police for revenge porn. Even though I'd specifically avoided including anything truly explicit. She showed up at my office building twice before security escorted her out. By Wednesday, both Nicole and Brad had been fired, apparently using company resources for personal affairs, including those fake business trips funded by corporate credit cards, was grounds for immediate termination and possible fraud charges. Nicole's boss called me personally to apologize and ask if I needed any documentation for divorce proceedings. The kids were staying with me, obviously. Nicole was crashing at various friends' houses, burning through relationships as word spread about what she'd done. Her own parents wouldn't take her calls. Jake and Connor blocked her on social media. Even her college roommates started distancing themselves after the story made its way through their friend group. But here's the thing that really got to me. She never once apologized for the affair itself. Every tearful voicemail was about how I'd ruined her life and destroyed her family relationships, how I'd been cruel and vindictive, how I should have talked to her privately instead of humiliating her publicly. Never once did she say she was sorry for cheating. Never once did she acknowledge the 10 months of lies. Never once did she take responsibility for the systematic betrayal of our marriage. That changed on Thursday night. I was putting Lily to bed when I heard a car in the driveway. Through the window, I saw Nicole getting out of an unfamiliar sedan, probably a rental since I'd seen her Honda getting repossessed earlier that week. She looked horrible. Unwashed hair, rumpled clothes, like she'd been sleeping in her car. She knocked on the door like a ghost haunting her own house. Ryan, please. I need to talk to you. I opened the door but didn't let her in. The kids are sleeping. I know, I need 5 minutes, please. She looked so broken that part of me, the part that had loved her for 9 years, almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Brad left town, she said without preamble. Moved back in with his mother in Kentucky. Turns out he was seeing 3 other women besides me. I was just another conquest to him. I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? Congratulations on discovering that cheaters are generally shitty people. My parents won't speak to me. My brothers blocked my number. I lost my job, my car, my health insurance. I'm living in a motel room off Route 9, and I can't even afford it past this weekend. Still nothing from me. I know you hate me, she continued, tears starting. I know I deserve everything that's happening to me. But Ryan, our kids need their mother. Ethan asked me yesterday why Mommy can't come home anymore, and I didn't know what to tell him. That got to me. Not enough to forgive her, but enough to hurt. You should have thought about that before you decided to blow up our family for some midlife crisis with a married coworker. I know, her voice was barely a whisper. I know I fucked up everything. I know I was selfish and cruel and stupid. I know I hurt you in ways I can never fix. But please don't make our children pay for my mistakes. She was right, of course. Ethan and Lily didn't deserve to lose their mother because she'd made horrible choices. But I also couldn't pretend like nothing had happened, couldn't just welcome her back into our lives, like the past 10 months were some bad dream. You want to see the kids? Fine. Supervised visits. 1 hour twice a week with a counselor present. You want custody? Get a lawyer, and we'll let the courts decide. You want forgiveness? You want us to be a family again? I looked at this woman who'd shared my bed for 9 years and felt absolutely nothing. That's never going to happen, Nicole. Never. She nodded like she'd expected this answer. Can I just see them tonight? Just to say goodnight? I won't ask for anything else. Against my better judgment, I let her in, watched her tiptoe upstairs and kiss our sleeping children, whispering apologies they couldn't hear. When she came back down, her eyes were red, but she seemed more composed. Ryan, I need you to know something. What I did, it wasn't about you. You were a good husband. You are a good father. I was unhappy with myself, and instead of fixing it, I destroyed everything good in my life. It was the closest thing to a real apology I'd gotten from her. I don't forgive you, I said as she reached the door, and I probably never will. But maybe someday when the kids are older and they ask about this, I'll be able to tell them that their mother at least tried to take responsibility for what she did. She nodded and walked back to her rental car. I watched her drive away and realized something. I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel satisfied by her suffering. I just felt empty, like someone had hollowed out my chest and forgotten to put anything back. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Margaret Hartwell. Nicole had been found unconscious in her motel room, apparent suicide attempt with sleeping pills. She was alive, stable, but hospitalized for 72-hour psychiatric observation. The kids don't need to know yet, Margaret said through tears. But Ryan, I know what she did was unforgivable. I know you have every right to hate her, but she's still our daughter, and she's still Ethan and Lily's mother. Whatever you decide about custody, about the divorce, about everything, we'll support you. But please don't let her die thinking everyone she ever loved has abandoned her. I hung up the phone and stared at Nicole's burner phone, still sitting on my kitchen counter like a monument to the destruction it had caused. That little black iPhone had been more than evidence. It had been a nuclear weapon, and when I detonated it in that dining room 3 weeks ago, I'd gotten exactly what I wanted. Total annihilation of my wife's double life. But sitting in my empty house, listening to my children sleep upstairs, I couldn't shake the question that had been haunting me since that Sunday dinner. Had I been seeking justice or just revenge? Had I been protecting my family, or had I been so focused on making Nicole pay for humiliating me that I'd forgotten about the collateral damage? I looked at that burner phone one more time, then dropped it in the trash. Some weapons are too dangerous to keep around, even after you've already used them to win the war. but I still don't know if I was the hero or the villain in this story. Maybe I was both. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life drama. Got a take on the situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you.